Welcome, everyone, to the MMA Happy Hour podcast. I am Kyle Anthony, your host for today. We are talking UFC 312, headlined by Dricus du Plessis and Sean Strickland. We're going to be breaking down 4 plays here on the show today. Before we do anything, make sure you like the video, comment down below. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of my plays. Love to have the conversation. And if you want to become a client, link down in the description. We picked up 7 units last weekend. Nice night for clients overall. We're plus units this year so far, plus 76 units last year. So we're keeping the ball rolling, putting those shekels in our bankroll and moving forward into this weekend. We got a lot of events coming up back to back to back over the next couple months. So let's lock in here. And with that being said, let's dive into the main event of the evening between Dricus du Plessis and Sean Strickland. Now, you got the current champion, Dricus, minus 210. On the comeback here, you've got Sean Strickland, plus 170. Now, this is a rematch from their fight back in January of 2024. A very close fight overall. Definitely very close fight. You got some people thinking Sean edged it out. You got some people thinking Dricus edged it out. And, you know, Dricus cashed us in for clients. But if you do look back at this fight, very, very competitive, close fight. And you do see that Strickland did land more shots overall. 173 significant strikes to 137. Now, there's 2 reasons why Dricus did edge that fight out. And the first thing being is the more impactful shots really came from DDP. You know, he landed the bigger shots, damaged Strickland early. You know, he was busted up, and that's going to help, obviously, optically on the scorecards for the judges. But the other part was the well-timed takedowns at the end of rounds. You know, when you saw that there was, you know, a round that was somewhat close, Dricus was able to come forward, look for takedowns, secure it, you know, land some big shots in top position, and all of a sudden bank that round. Even if he was landing less shots, Strickland doesn't have the power that Dricus does. But you know what you're getting out of Sean Strickland, right? We know what we're getting from him. He's going to throw a simple 1-2 combination, utilize the jab, throw teep kicks to the body, and really throw everything with like 70% power. He doesn't really commit to his shots, look to throw big, heavy shots. It's just 1-2 combinations, walk you down, weaponize that cardio, and that's how he does find success. Now, he doesn't wrestle either, which I think does hurt him. He's got high-level ground game, but just doesn't even look to do it at any point pretty much in his career. That's something that he just doesn't do. And I also was just unimpressed with his fight against Paulo Costa recently, where kind of a glorified sparring match. They kind of pitter-patter shots back and forth, and Strickland ended up winning it on the scorecards. But Dricus on the other side here, you know, fight smart, you know, and that's something that I think is not being said enough because he has this kind of awkward style, but he fights smart and he mixes it up very well. He's going to come forward, he's going to crash the pocket, and he's going to look to throw big shots. The power advantage will be on his side. And also, again, these late round takedowns, I do believe he's going to implement the same type of strategy because it worked and because Strickland was able to be taken down and he was able to control some of it and look like he's on top position at the end of the round. Six takedowns for Dricus in that fight. He averages 3 takedowns per 15 minutes. So you know this is something that he's going to add in this fight and going to continually do. Now, DDP's style is really what makes him very difficult here. Just an unorthodox movement, unorthodox style overall. Very hard for opponents to kind of pick up and get reads of, you know, where he's throwing these combinations from. Very odd angles he throws these combinations from as well. And I think that's something that's going to be, you know, very tough again for Strickland to get a beat on. It's very hard to really spar against a guy that moves that herky-jerky style like Dricus. And I think it's going to be very difficult for him as well. But where I'm going with this one here is I do like Dricus. I do believe he gets the job done, but I do believe it's going to be by points. And this is a spot here where Sean is durable. Sean is defensively sound. He is very tough overall. And I think he's a guy that's really going to be able to kind of leverage some of that throughout the fight. There's going to be opportunities, I think, for, you know, Dricus. There's going to be opportunities here for Sean. There's going to be some close rounds. But again, I do believe the current champion in DDP gets the job done. I like it in this spot here. I think he's going to implement the very similar game plan. So give me DDP to get the job done via points at plus 165. Next one here we're going to talk about is Tatiana Suarez versus Weili Zhang. Now you got Tatiana here, minus 120, the comeback on the current champion. Plus 100, a lot of money coming in here on Tatiana, and now she starts to be the slight favorite. Now, you got Weili, who been a dominant champion for years. She's pretty much, fought in titles, over the last few years, whether she's defending them or fighting for one. She has continually been in the position of fighting for a title over and over again, being able to utilize her strength, her physicality, being able to muscle a lot of females. Even when she's in tough situations, she's got that strength to kind of bulldoze her way out of it and utilize that high level striking. That's the way that she's been able to find a lot of success. Now, the red flag here, and maybe why this line has moved the way it's moving, is the red flag is the fact that, Weili's weakness does line up with the strength of Tatiana Suarez. And that really is where this, kind of is the make or break spot. You may listen to some other podcasts, that's going to be the conversation piece here is Weili going to keep the standing? Can she keep the standing? Can Tatiana get the takedowns? Can she hunt for that finish? And that's going to be the storyline of this fight. Currently, you've got Weili. She's at a 50% takedown defense rate, middle of the road overall, but fighters that have wanted to take Weili down have been able to take Weili down overall. And even not just that, but when she's taken down, there has been times where she can't get up. She gets flattened, she gets stuck on bottom. And that really is where this could set up very well for Tatiana Suarez, because past performances do pretty much show what, that path is available. You look at Rose Namajunas here, where Rose, not as physical, not as high level wrestling when you're compared to Tatiana, but she was 2 for 2 on takedowns against Weili, had 7 minutes of control time. And these takedowns came late in the fight, where very competitive overall. But when it got into those late rounds, Rose was able to secure a takedown, get top position, and really Weili had no answers once she was on her back. And again, it's not that I believe that Rose has this really heavy top pressure. She's very positionally sound. She has great submission ability. But again, I thought it was a very telling sign that late in that fight, she was able to bank rounds and get the victory over Weili. And then we even look at against Yan Shonan. Now, this is a spot where Weili did get the victory, but Yan was 3 for 3 on takedowns against her. And that, again, speaks volumes of an opportunity here for Tatiana, where now Weili's about to face arguably the best female wrestler in the sport. And there is the opportunities to be there for her. She's got, quick takedowns, very slick transitions, finds dominant position, heavy top pressure overall. She can hunt for those submissions, look for some ground and pound. And even I was very, impressed, even in her most recent fight against Jessica Andrade, where yes, there's been spots where we have not seen Tatiana as much as we wanted to. She's been injured and there's certain things going on outside of the cage. But inside the cage, anytime she's there, she has looked dominant against Jessica Andrade, who has a 72% takedown defense rate and also very physical, very strong. And even there, Tatiana was able to secure 3 takedowns and get that submission victory in the second round. And even also, got to add in the fact that Weili has leaned on her wrestling a little bit here. She's pushed for some of that wrestling, because sometimes in these situations, she's looking for those level changes, and that's not going to be there on Saturday night. She secured 6 takedowns against Yan Shonan with nearly 13 minutes of control time, 6 takedowns against Amanda Lemos with 16 minutes of control time. And if she shoots on Tatiana, I think it's going to be one-way traffic. I think Tatiana's going to find a lot of success. So I think this is going to be a very tough matchup for Weili. I do agree with this line movement. So give me Tatiana Suarez to get the job done and new. Next fight we're going to talk about here is Viacheslav Borshchev versus Tom Nolan. You got Borshchev here, minus 150. The comeback on Nolan is plus 118. You got the head coach of Team Alpha Male for striking, solid kickboxer in Borshchev. The other side here, you've got Tom Nolan, 24 years old, and also a striker. Now, there's no doubt that Borshchev is going to be the more technical fighter, the better technically sound striker overall. He's got, very solid kicking arsenal, decently fast combinations, but there's a couple issues that I do see when you look at Borshchev and you look at some of his past fights. And the thing is, I just feel he's on the decline. I just feel at 33 years old, he's been through a lot of wars. He's taken a lot of damage. And the red flags, I think, first start on his durability. Now, it's not that Tom Nolan is this, has this granite chin, but, I just don't like what I'm seeing and how Borshchev is really absorbing these shots. I just think his chin is a little iffy. Probably the biggest sign of that is going to be when Chase Hooper dropped Borshchev. Not a good look when somebody of Chase Hooper's caliber and striking dropped you, but he was able to drop Borshchev in that spot, took a ton of damage. And also just now, I think the effects of all these wars, he's had three tough fights overall. Three tough fights back to back recently, and that is just a lot of damage he is taking. I think that's starting to have an effect on him. And then also you've got to add in the cardio. I think that now that's starting to tick down a little bit. Looks like Nolan has really strong cardio, can push a high pace, but against, James Yontop, who is very green, a guy that, doesn't really present too much besides just a brawler. And, Borshchev won by split decision. That should have been a fight where Borshchev should dominate, in a pure striking match. Borshchev should really, really pick him apart. And he was getting touched up. He was getting hurt. He was getting landed on. And again, I don't put Yontop striking very high. I put actually Tom Nolan striking higher than somebody like Yontop, yet he was able to land. I think that's, a red flag there. And also the vulnerability that Borshchev has on his takedown defense, not good at all when you're looking at it. Out of his last 8 UFC fights, he's been taken down 29 times. And not that I think that Tom Nolan's going to shoot for takedowns, endlessly, but I think he can mix them in. At 24 years old, he's just going to get better. He's going to continue to improve. He's going to continue to, add tools to his arsenal. And I do think that's something that if you game plan, it's got to be part of your game plan, looking for takedowns, mixing it up a little bit. And I think that's where he's going to go here. Even if he doesn't get takedowns, mix it in, cause some problems, give different looks. And I think it's going to help him here. And lastly, is the physical size. There's no doubt Tom Nolan is a big dude, big frame for the division. He's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage. He's going to have a 4-inch height advantage as well. He's going to be 8 years younger than Borshchev, a lot less MMA mileage overall. And I just think that you're going to see him really shine here. This could be the worst Borshchev we've seen and maybe the best Tom Nolan that we've seen. And now we're starting to look at the plus money here. And then lastly, also, you got to add in, it's on home soil for Tom Nolan in Australia. So give me Tom Nolan to get the job done and give me that plus money. Next one here we're going to talk about, and the last one is going to be Rodolfo Bellato versus Jimmy Crute. We've got Bellato. He's sitting at minus 160 on the comeback here. Jimmy Crute plus 135. Now, to be short on this one here, I think it's going to be a car crash. I think these two are going to just stand in the middle, trade. I think that, both of these guys, do look to throw hard, but have defensive inefficiencies. And they're also unreliable fighters that have flaws. And, first you've got Crute, who recently retired after losing to Alonzo Menafield. Not the best look getting submitted by Alonzo Menafield. But after that fight, he ended up saying, I'm done with the sport. And that's somebody who is just, to me, broken mentally, who just doesn't have their heart in the sport. And you've got to be all in when you're talking about fighting. You can't really half-ass this, or you're going to take a ton of damage. And I think that already is a red flag on that side. But you also look at it as the fact that, even Bellato, he has not looked that great either, where yes, he's had some victories, but he was getting beaten up by Ior Pretoria, who is not very good, pretty much has about 4 minutes of cardio. He was just literally, the fight probably could have been stopped, was just stomping on Bellato. And Ior does what Ior does, gasses out, allowed Bellato to come back in, and he goes out there and gets the victory. So not the greatest showing, but the major issues for both of these guys is they both have terrible striking defense. 44% for both of these guys, not that great, yet they're both willing to trade in the pocket. They're both willing to brawl. They're both willing to bring the fight to it. And I think that's where it's going to open up volatility in this fight. I think that's where we're going to see some opportunity for either one of these guys to find that finish. Both of them, wild combinations at times, leaves himself open to be countered. Low fight IQ, I think, for both of these guys. I don't really see them making great decision-making, out there. Lots of mistakes going. So where I'm going with this one is going to be violence here. And when you're looking at it, Crute, he's 12-4. That's 16 professional fights. He's only seen a scorecard 3 times. You got Bellato, 12-2. That's 14 professional fights. He's only seen the scorecards once. So in this spot here, you got to go violence here. It's a little chalked up here, but if you can get, now this isn't everybody, they got some books overseas right now that have this available, but it's, under 2.5 rounds is about minus 163. I think that should be near minus 300, especially under 2.5. I think this probably ends in the first round and a half, but I'm going to be paying up a little bit here, minus 163 under 2.5 rounds in this fight. So there you have it for my picks for UFC 312. If you want to become a client, again, link down in the description. I have a 5% play up right now for this weekend, as well as 3 plays in total. We'll probably have about 5 or 6 plays in total by the time we get to fight night on Saturday. Again, link down in the description. And let's keep it rocking and rolling. Picked up 7 units last weekend. Let's keep the profits rolling and let's cash.